Torches in Shadowdark seem simple enough. You light a torch, it sheds light out to a certain distance, and when it burns down, you light another torch. But this is a role-playing game, and thus people have their own interpretations about how brightly torches burn. We inadvertently kicked off a small debate around this as we did our 2 special episodes. I did torch rings, and David did the scratch-off torch map. And when I did the torch rings, people were like, well, no, that's too big. So let's talk about it. Okay. So what do the rules say? When it comes to the core rules, the explanation of how torches work is, like I say, it's pretty straightforward. Torch sheds light to a near distance. See Light Sources, page 84. Burns for 1 hour of real time, which is the great hook for Shadowdark. So a near distance, what is that? Well, a near distance is up to 30 feet. So clearly, the torch illuminates to a 30-foot radius, meaning you have 30 feet of light behind you and 30 feet of light ahead of you. And a fellow party member could advance to the edge of the light in a single move. That would be this ring. So if you're playing on a battle map, this is what a 30-foot radius, 60-foot diameter torchlight looks like. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, that is how I have always played it. And as you were saying, other sources of illumination, lanterns cast light up to a double near distance, requires oil, and has a shutter to hide the light. Both of which, as we said, reference page 84. Page 84 just says things about light sources, but it does not say anything in terms of the distance or anything like that. It just talks about how to handle the timers on light sources and multiple light sources at the same time.
And so the light spell works the same as the torch. So it radiates out to a near distance. This seems straightforward. Like you say, lanterns, double near distance, right? Well, that's even bigger than this. This would be, twice the size of this, right? That's a pretty big ring. I don't have one big enough.
Huge.
It's huge.
Oil lamps are the bomb, and they are the next level of technology in Shadowdark, for sure.
And yet, what if it weren't actually that big? Because people disagree. So in the comments on our previous torchlight videos, people say we're being too liberal, that a torch sheds a light to a 30-foot diameter, right? So they're saying it's going 15-foot radius, like 15 feet away from you and 15 feet in back of you. So basically that the torch diameter is centered on the character. And so it's going 15 feet out and 15 feet back, and it looks like this. So this is a substantially smaller ring. I'm going to try and illuminate this a little bit more so you can see. But it's significantly smaller than
very much significantly smaller, yes.
Big metal ring here, right? So, which is better? It depends. I inadvertently did it both ways. I did it using the 30-foot radius in my real-world Shadowdark games on a battle map. And then in Roll20, I did the 15-foot radius because when you put the number into Roll20 and just say 30, it does what people were describing. It's half the radius of the bigger torch diameter. When it comes down to it, which is better? Because you could go both ways. I think most people think that the larger diameter is what you actually want to do.
But we got comments saying that it's not. So,
right.
Yeah. I have Foundry, and so I'm going to go ahead and share our screen here. I've got our good old Krieg Greythorn, who is our level 1 human apprentice wizard, and I've loaded him up with several things. So first we'll go with the torch. The torch here, it illuminates a pretty big area, so centering on Krieg, which is the way that I've always interpreted, to a near distance, which means to me, from the torch to a near distance, which would be approximately 30 feet, it's gonna illuminate a decent amount back, and it's gonna illuminate a decent amount up front. If we turn out the lights again and go with the oil flask, we get a fair amount more here. We're in the intro areas of Lost Temple of the Scarlet Minotaur. And it lights up a decent amount of space. And the last one is, let's see if he can cast it well. Critical failure. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do a divine intervention here. 2 critical failures in a row. That's amazing. Let's go. Okay, success. He's supposed to just light up. What is going on?
You have clearly offended the gods, and they are not going to let you use your light.
I have. So there we go. So we've got our inventory here, and it, again, is going to go out to a torch size. Now, if there was a critical success, it doubles certain numbers on critical successes for any spell. So theoretically, you could do double range or double time, which is pretty nice. So you could actually bring that over here and get a full double range torch, or light spell, I should say. This is the way I played it. The thing that, and I don't know that I can show it here, but if I pull back up the torch, this is why I think it should go from the torch out to near, as in 30 feet. Because if we're looking here, if Krieg's in the back of the party and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, the person in the front of the party is only going to get like one square of light, if that. I think this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yeah. So if it's only 15 feet out, 5, 10, 15, Jorben Ironhelm is in the dark already.
Yes, he is.
You could theoretically, pop this around, but then you'd always have the person with the torch would always have to be in the middle of the party, or you'd always have to run with 2 torches, especially in a corridor that's only single file.
Advantage-wise, and you can see why in our totally unscientific survey of online opinions, the majority thinks that it works as a 30-foot radius. Brighter torch illuminates a larger portion of the map. It avoids the issue of adventurers inadvertently running off into darkness. It doesn't stop it, because that's just a funny part of the game, especially when you're playing online, but it helps. And it prevents adventurers from falling behind it into darkness when the torchbearer moves forward. And they can cover more ground, which speeds up gameplay, right? So it also greatly enhances the utility of lanterns, because they illuminate a total of 120 feet of dungeon, 60 feet in all directions. So that's pretty impressive. That means that lanterns would allow non-torch bearers to make a double move. My players do not have a lantern yet, although they may want to invest on one after I talk to them about how this works, or they listen to the podcast. So in any case, it just means that you can move faster, which means they can get away from threats faster, all that kind of thing. The downsides, there's fewer places for the monsters to hide. The monsters, I think, can't sneak up on the adventurers quite so easily, and faster movement accelerates the pace of the game, which may not fit with the sense of dread you were hoping to build. In my lunchtime game, when I played this online, the guys were fleeing from a gelatinous cube. They were severely limited in their ability to run because we're using this smaller torch diameter, right? So they did end up having to light multiple torches because they're like, no, we have to get out of here. But it did create this very relentless pressure, because gelatinous cubes, you may not think this, but they can move near. So it's a fast moving cube.
Yep.
It will catch the hindmost. And so they lit multiple torches, and it was a whole fun and really engaging sort of encounter. But, it did get me to thinking maybe the torch diameter should be bigger.
Yeah, I'm going to say, on the pro side, if you want to run a darkest dungeon, the video game sort of really, really horror specific sort of dungeon, yeah, I would say you could rule that it does only go out in a 15-foot radius instead of a 30-foot radius. But it dramatically changes the game.
Yes.
In terms of how things are played. I will also say, though, that certain dungeons, this one being one of them, having a single light source is still really limiting. Encouraging the players to have more than one light source gives them a sense of comfort where they can spread out and separate from the party and maybe get ambushed by people so inclined. Or if they're just being careless, and not really paying attention, they'll spread a little too far apart, and then the torches go out, and then who knows where everybody is. Most of the time when I have played Shadowdark, the group will start with a single torch, and even at 30 feet, they will find that too limiting. At 30-foot radius, they'll find that way too limiting and light up more light sources after that. Even with someone having a lantern, someone else will still light a torch, so that they have a bit more mobility. And if you do what's suggested in the book and have the monsters attack the light sources, you want more than one as a backup.
Yes, exactly. You can still get that moment of dread when the torch goes spinning off into darkness and sputters out. So thinking about dimmer torches, and I think, historically D&D set us up for this whole debate because spell descriptions tend to bounce between diameter and radius, and at least you could look them up to figure out which one it was supposed to be, but they were consistently inconsistent across the editions when it came to these light sources. And so Shadowdark rules don't offer that clarification. It just says out to a near distance. And so that led the minority to go with the more limiting definition. The advantages of the smaller torch is mostly to the game master, because adventurers can only move 15 feet before plunging into darkness, as we were discussing. And it forces you to light more torches or stay closer together, which really reinforces that sort of claustrophobic aliens style, what's going to be behind this corner, around this corner sort of dynamic, which I think reinforces that claustrophobia. And using more torches to increase the light means that they use a key resource at a faster rate, which again, all upside for Dungeon Master.
Yeah.
I do think the downside is like we've been talking, is it slows down exploration, which slows down the game, right? It also enhances the mobility of the monsters relative to the players, because they can just move much faster, because the night adapted horrors can move at full speed without any drawback, which nearly led to this TPK with total party kill with my lunchtime game because of a ravenous gelatinous cube, right? It was fun. Having done it both ways, I think there's still an opportunity to take the dimmer light source. Like I could see, you venture into the Temple of Death and illumination is diminished until maybe there's a ritual or something that will allow you to restore, or maybe you have, you say a prayer to the God of Light or some such. Like having it as an occasional tool in your toolbox, like why are the torches dimmer, right? That's unnerving. Yep. It would reinforce the environment. Maybe it's not a thing you should use all the time.
You could even have it be a non-supernatural sort of thing of just a thick mist that in the mist, the torch is going to illuminate the close, really close area pretty well, but mist don't let you see very far. And the brighter the light, the harder it is actually to see in thicker fog.
This is very true. And I did this in my Sunday game, in my Greyhawk 76 game, because they are currently making their way through the Mist Marsh in Greyhawk. Obviously, this means there are mists. And so Roll20 actually has, I think it was in beta at the time, I don't know if they officially went live with it, but it had light fog and heavy fog as things you could use. And it works with the light sources. And so I had to play around with it a little bit, because why would you have a torch in the fog during the day, right? At night, obviously, you still need it. But yeah, I think there's ways to play around with that whole environmental effect. So we did search the facts. We did our homework. We couldn't find a definitive answer to the radius versus diameter for light sources. That said, even if there was a rules as written answer, we think the right answer is the one that works best for your campaign. What do you guys think? We want to hear back from you. Leave a comment on YouTube or email us at podcast@lairofsecrets.com.